This is homework assignment 9, problem 1, Nate's rendition. In problem 1, it establishes W of t as a stochastic process with an expected value of W of t equal to 0 and a correlation W T1, T2 equal to alpha min T1, T2. We define Y of t, probably another stochastic process, yes, as equal to Wt minus the quantity T minus 1 for values of t greater than or equal to 0, and for 0 otherwise where t is less than 1. First thing we're asked to find is the expected value of y of t, which we set as equal to w of t minus a w of t minus 1, which is equal to 0. So therefore, the expected value and mean are 0, so the first component for determining whether something is WSS has been satisfied. Now for RY T1, T2, this is equal to the expected value of W of T1 minus W, the quantity of T1 minus 1, times W of T2 minus W of T2 minus 1. So that product is equal to alpha times the quantity min of T1, T2 minus min of T1, comma, T2 minus 1 minus min T1 minus 1 by T2 plus min T1 minus 1 comma T2 minus 1, which is really replacing the corresponding terms in the stated equation, and especially where we have stated value constraints. So we go and we say now when T2, or rather when TA is less than T1 and T2, and T1 minus 1 is greater than T2. Let me restate that. When TA is less than 1, T1, and T2 is less than T1 minus 1. These are critical in establishing how we will evaluate the correlation of Y, or for any correlation. So the correlation, or I should say the autocorrelation of T1, T2 is equal to alpha min T1, T2 minus the min of T1, comma, T2 minus T1, and corresponding on out. Then we subsequently end up replacing that by the alpha terms, and it comes out in this particular case where it is equal to 0. Now when T2 is less than T1 and T2 plus 1 is greater than T1, here's the graphical representation. Correspondingly, when we compute the autocorrelation for Y at T1, T2, you can see where alpha times the quantity min T1, T2, etc., etc. And then the corresponding terms for min in regard to and the points T1, T2, etc. are stated here. In this particular case, our y T1, T2 is equal to alpha times 1 minus the quantity T1 minus T2. Okay. Now, in all cases, we need to make the consideration when we evaluate the criteria for the constraints, and we have that r of y T1, T2 is equal to 0 when the absolute value of T1 minus T2 is greater than 1. And of course, alpha, the quantity 1 minus quantity T1 minus T2, when the absolute value of T1 minus T2 is less than 1. When we combine all this, and we end up with Ry tau, which is basically a combination of T1 and T2, where tau may be equal to T1 minus T2. We combine these and we end up with tau equal to 0 when the absolute value of tau is greater than 1, and correspondingly equal to alpha times 1 minus the absolute value of tau when tau is less than or equal to 1. So correspondingly, there is an impact and a relationship between the 2 points or tau and computing the autocorrelation. Therefore, with the zero mean, indeed, this particular stochastic process is WSS. Thank you.